Hey guys, welcome to the first episode of Soul to Song, our series where we have conversations with an R&B artist and for their work. Today, the honor of having Kevin Ross talk about his upcoming single. And today we have, like I said, our first guest. He's an iHeartRadio, NAACP Image and Soul Train Award music nominated singer and songwriter who has worked with legends such as Jamie Foxx, Johnny Gill, Toni Braxton, Neo, Nicki Minaj, Trey Songz. Let us welcome Kevin Ross. That's good, Kevin.
Hey, thank you for having me. I really do appreciate it so very much. I mean, the way that you were saying it sounds so good. So I was like, yeah, I'm with it. I'm for it.
Yes, your energy matches your music, matches your resume. I am so honored and impressed, honestly. I want to talk about your upcoming single, all the work you put in 2020. When I looked at your catalog for 2020, that's like the amount of catalog somebody would have for the entirety of their career. So I was like, okay, you got the pressure.
Yeah, thank you.
Of course. Okay, so I wanted to talk about 2021. Things are finally starting to open back up. 2020 was such a mark on all of our lives, especially artists, because there was such a switch in scenery and landscape and just the industry in total. Can you tell me how your life kind of adjusted during that time?
Man, you know what the cool thing about it is that my lifestyle was already kind of conducive to pandemic anyways, as far as just like being in the studio and stuff like that. I think where I had to adjust was just making sure that I checked in on my family, checked in on friends. And I think that I took that for granted, because you always want for people to root for you. You always want for people to have something to talk about. But I think just a simple check-in of how are you doing, you know what I mean, without like the update of like, so what's going on in your life, because everybody was going through the same thing at the same time. So it kind of cut down on all of the extra to say, oh yeah, well, I just got back from such and such, or, doing this and that. It was like just more so, how are you holding up? Good. Let's do a game night and stuff like that. So I really was able to tap in and really connect with my friends and family a lot more, and understood I didn't do a great job prior to that. You know what I mean? So
I don't think we should ever be critical of ourselves too much. Yes, to self-reflect and grow.
yeah,
But at the same time, that's so dope that you were able to pivot. So you're saying like your outlook on relationships in general changed during that time.
for sure. For
Mm,
sure.
okay. And then did that affect the work that you worked on during that time as well?
Uh, I think, yeah, honestly, you would think that I would work a lot more, like feverishly, but I didn't. I really took my time, and I learned a lot about the art of patience. And I learned about just making sure that like whatever that I was putting out, that it made sense for what was going on, versus just saying, okay, I'm gonna just put out records. It's just like, okay, how can I help? How can I help assist in whatever way that I can, whether it's just bringing good vibes, bringing a smile on somebody's face, whatever the case may be. It just allowed for me to be a lot more intentional with what I did put out.
Yeah, so that deliberation, you're saying like patience is an art form. Like, how do you practice that with your work? Because I feel like there's so much pressure to
Mm-hmm.
not only follow up your work with more great work, but just that overload of content, presence.
You know what? I think my biggest thing is you have to look at your career as an experiment, essentially, where you're not being too overcritical of every step that you make. There's lessons that you learn, and you'll say, okay, I'll take note of that. But along the way, in the journey, someone can give you a blueprint for how to win in a particular lane, but that doesn't mean that it's going to completely work 100% for you. And so my biggest thing, and the way that I help to battle any type of potential anxiety or nervousness or inferior complex, is by understanding that my career is an experiment, or an experience, right? So I don't necessarily look at it as pressure, more so than it is an opportunity to learn more, right? So like if something doesn't work, then it's like, okay, duly noted. Like it's not the end of the world.
You're not afraid to make mistakes.
Yeah, you know, like, cause I mean, for me, I'm a musician, right? So I'm not I'm not an artist that was brought into the music industry because of their looks or because they can dance really well or because they just have this star presence, right? And there's nothing wrong with that. That's, you know, those things sell records too. But for me, being a musician, I've learned a long time ago that because I'm a musician, no one can tell me when I'm in and out of the music business, right? Because I'm at the I'm always in demand. I'm always in need somewhere. So if it's not in my artistry, then it'll be in my writing, it'll be in my production, it'll be somewhere where my services are needed because I am designed for this business. You know what I mean? So I never trip about it. So like I
You
said,
know your purpose and you're fulfilling your destiny.
exactly. Exactly.
Okay, I feel like I need a note, a pen and paper. You're spitting gems. Going back to what you said about checking in on your people during quarantine, did that also help you like flourish new relationships, or did that just help you make, you know, your current relationships more solid?
Let me see. Flourishing new relationships.
Or maybe
I don't
starting or sparking new relationships?
I don't know if I necessarily sparked any new relationships during quarantine. I will say this, you know what? I have a new community that I uh converse with. I ended up getting a dog during
Hey, you're talking about a whole species. I'm like, what community is that? Is that a poetry club? Like
yeah, so I ended up getting a dog, and so you know, just like that opened up a whole new world for me in a sense of just the dog community. I didn't understand how big that community was, just the passion behind it, uh, how relatable a lot of people, you know, are as far as our lives. And when we go to the dog park to be like, okay, you experiencing the same thing? You got a COVID pup too? Okay, yeah. So
a COVID
when did they?
club.
Yeah,
That's
you
so
know,
accurate. Oh my goodness. Animals are serious companions, and I think they make us appreciate life a little more because you see it through their eyes, like, oh, it's pretty precious. Um,
exactly.
okay, so tell me about your new upcoming single. What is it called? What's the inspiration behind it? When did you make it?
Well, it's called Looking for Love, and it's out this Friday, July 23rd. And I'm super excited about it. I made I made it this year. I did make it in 2021, so it's pretty fresh. It's a contemporary love story. You know, I was having a conversation with a couple friends, and we were talking about the reasons why people aren't married once they reach their mid 20s, you know, late 20s, early 30s. And I said, honestly, I feel like we're repressed 10 years. I said, we are the first generation to experience a technological boom. And I said, that opened up a lot more options for people. So certain things where, you know, you would kind of stick it through 10 to 20 years ago because you feel like this is the best person in your perimeter. This is the best person. Exactly. So you would be a little more patient. You'll be a little more tolerable with that person because of the fact that you feel like there's something that's there that's worth to build upon. But when you have so many different options on so many different platforms, your tolerance grows little to none. So you're not willing to necessarily build if you feel like if there's an inkling of doubt, if there's an inkling of distrust or you know whatever, people are quick to cut it off. And so I feel like this story, I play a character where I'm a guy where I'm ready. I'm ready for love. I'm ready to love this woman, but she's not. She's not finished entertaining her options. She's not at the same place. And not to say that, you know, it's not a song to say forget you. It's more so to say when you're ready, you know where to find me, right? And that shows my level of patience as well. But also to say, you know, don't waste my time either. You know, The first line is like, late in the night and I'm faded. You say that you're not going to make it. And this is 2 times in a row for you. You know what I mean? So it's like, there's a pattern that's going on. There's this level of toxicity that I've kind of been entertaining because I like this woman, but at a certain point now, it's like I got to put my foot down and say, you know what, I'm good. If you out here doing whatever, like, and whenever you come looking for love, you know where to find it. That's it.
And I heard you say that you took on a character, which is super interesting because that kind of could imply that it's not something you personally experience, it's something that you're taking on from another point of view. Is this a personal experience, or like you say, like little bits and pieces of what everybody around you experiences?
I mean, I've had instances like that. I've had instances where, like, and that's why I say character too, because for me, I haven't been so over the moon where it's like, I want to marry this girl and she's not into me. You know what I mean? So I haven't had that kind of scenario, but I've had the scenario where it's like, okay, I enjoy someone's company and I'm trying to set up a date and she's making it a little more difficult than what it should be. Certain things like that, I can then harness that energy. I can harness, like you said, the energy of what I see on social media and what my friends and what my circle tells me about what their dating life and experiences are, to then create a love story that is relatable and that's understandable for, my peers.
Very much. Wow, super relatable. I felt a little attacked almost personally. That's how you know it's real. Okay, so I also want to talk about something that you're pretty famous for, your KRS mashups. You have a series on Instagram that's amassed upwards to 400,000 views, and you also started the mashup show featuring you're interviewing a variety of artists that you're challenging them in the mashups to do the mashups with you. I wanted to ask, like, what pushed you to start this series?
All right, now correction. I have to correct you. Now,
Sorry.
it is a KR mashup. It has amassed 40 plus million views as it pertains to that. And like you said, I do have something called the Mashup Show, which is an extension of that. And now to answer your question, how it has been created, it was really out of the desire to expand musically. My brother sent me an app called Acapella, and he was, doing this stuff in these little boxes, and I was like, "That's tight, that's dope." And so it started with just me and him bouncing back and forth in the sense of like, "Oh, you remember this song?" And doing it acapella and in harmony, bouncing it back and forth. And I was like, you know what? Maybe I should, like post something like this on social media. And from there, what started as a seed where you always got to look at your social media as like a sliding scale. So if it doesn't go viral, you have to look at it to say, how well is it doing compared to the other posts that I posted? So I saw that it was a lot more connectivity to my mashup. So then it encouraged me to do it a lot more. And then once I expounded upon it and started doing kind of medleys, that's when it really started to, take a life of its own. And on Facebook, it really started to become a thing where it's like, okay, like every month I'm going viral in this world. Okay, so now, now created a whole new thing for me where, yeah, I'm a recording artist, but then I can also be a content creator as well, and dabble in all of the worlds and figured out, one niche that I can always kind of play into. And not to say that that's, I'm far from a one-trick pony, but it's something that that's a novelty for me where now my base considers it as something special that every now and then when I pull it out, they pay attention because it's, it's not something that I do every day. So, it's appreciated in that way. Then during the pandemic, I did do the mashup show, and I was able to really kind of pull in friends and colleagues and stuff like that. So, we started off with Sonorelle from out in London, to Adrian Marcel, to Avant, OG, the OG vet, to SWV, which, that was a task within itself. And I'm just,
So
yeah, like fortunate that they were able to do it. To so many different people. I mean, Keydron Bryant, you know, who went viral for months with his "I Just Want to Live" campaign. But yeah, so that's kind of how the mashup world or the mashup brand had started, how it's evolved, and now how it's doing. So yes.
I'm super impressed at how multifaceted you are, like not just in your talents and like what you put out into the world, but what goes on in your head. Because you know, like the way you just broke it down, like you said it from a content creator's point of view to an artist's point of view to almost like a managerial point of view where you're thinking about marketing. And it's crazy that that's kind of required, especially now of independent artists. Like, have you always been this way? Because I know you were previously signed from Motown, where maybe you had people, like where you had a team of people to take on all of these roles for you, versus an independent artist where you have to wear a million hats at once.
For sure. I think when I first got into the music industry and got signed to a major label, that was the perception that I had. It was exactly what you said. Is that okay? Listen, all my job is to do is to create the music, and everybody else is going to take care of the rest. And so what that does is, one, it creates a level of laziness, entitlement, that I didn't need to have. Right. So once I started to realize that no one was going to do it for me. No one was going to build the brand or help my following or anything like that outside of me actually putting in the sweat equity, right? So for me, it was really just like coming into my own. And by the time that I was getting ready to release my first project, I understood that I was like, you know what? I'm gonna finish my deal with Motown, and then I'm gonna do my own thing. But God would have it a different way, where certain things happen, and certain like champions of mine had left the label, and so I had seen enough stories in the past where if the person that brought you in leaves, shortly after, your story is going to be completely messed up and destroyed. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to ask for my release and be out. So from there, being an independent artist, yeah, wearing those millions of hats was required. It pushed me into an environment where I had to develop these, you know what I mean, characteristics and just these nuances. I'm just fortunate enough that I have a desire to learn, right, and to be better in whatever aspect that is. So I did not have the characteristics of what I have now, in a sense of understanding how my craft is affected by the marketing, and how the marketing is affected by how it's being managed, and the art of delegation, and so many different components to it. But it's necessary in order for you to survive, right? It's either, you kill or be killed, and not in a way of like, like literally hurting someone, but in the sense of going out there and actually killing the task that's at hand. So for me, I wasn't going to allow for an opportunity to be not taken advantage of because of the fact that I don't know and I don't have the knowledge, especially like Google, YouTube, you know what I mean? So many different people that I ran across that I'm like, I should not have any shame or shameful bone in my body for asking any questions, especially if I'm open to say, hey, I don't know. How do you do this? How do you make this look like this? How do you find the money? How do you find the financing when you don't have it? How do you get a line of credit? How do you know what I mean? Like certain things that I didn't know, and I'm grateful that I know now. And honestly, I mean, I'm still learning every single day. So I'm grateful for this independent journey. I don't know like why I'm learning all this stuff, but I'm pretty sure like I'm going to be able to help a lot more people with the knowledge that I have in the future.
You're helping me now just in this conversation. What I think is so special that you said is that, you were able to admit that before you did have a sense of entitlement. So it's good to know that over time, like that kind of humbleness and experience can be taught, like it's not something inherent, like, oh, you have to be born with the drive. Like, no, you learn through trial and error that you got to get it from the mud, and you really got to, what you said, build for yourself. Like, I know you have your own platform where you release your records through. Can you tell me about that?
Yes. So my company is called Art Society Music Group. And that was established back in 2019. Super duper proud of this company because I always wanted a company to represent the arts in general, not just music, but just the arts. I grew up around the arts, whether it's theater, drama, whether it's poetry, whether it's telecommunications, whether it's marketing, whatever it is, but just something where you're using the creative side of your brain, right? So for me, I wanted a hub. I wanted a safe haven where people could feel comfortable to partner with me. I never wanted to sign anybody. So what was best for me to do, especially if I wanted to partner with people, was to actually partner with a bigger business, which was Empire Distribution, out of San Francisco. Shout out to Gazi. And so I wanted to glean and learn how their infrastructure works, why it flourishes, what's the mechanics, and essentially be a sponge and soak up as much knowledge. And so that's where I'm currently at, is soaking up all of the knowledge for my company, so that eventually when I do partner with people, I could be just as fair and and give people the freedom the way that Gazi does over at Empire.
Wow. So basically, you're a trailblazer, entrepreneur, you're a songwriter. Going back to Looking for Love, I know you were talking about, I think, another peer that did their campaign, as you said. What can we expect from your campaign with Looking for Love, or do you see it as like a new era for you?
Every album is a new era, for sure, for me. Sometimes, artists pick up from where they left off, but, for me, I think because I give a little time in between, I give a couple months. I promised myself as an independent artist that every year I would drop a project, and I've stayed true to that promise.
Did you release projects last year?
So I think that that's a part of it. That's really a part of the process, in the sense of even with Looking for Love, with the rollout, I always wanted to be able to give it in portions, because I am an artist that is still in discovery. I have not reached my optimal amount of visibility, right? There's certain artists that have potentially been overexposed, and then it's like, now you have to just figure out where you're going to go from there, because you've actually reached the eyeballs that is within your sphere or your genre, right? So for me, I haven't, which is a blessing, which is awesome. So that means that each and every day there's at least one person that's discovering me for the first time, right? So that means I have to now distribute my material, you know what I mean, in a way where with every person that comes on each and every day or every week, that they now have something to take in, versus, all right, we're gonna put out the song and the video at the same time, and then we're gonna do a live event, and then the rollout is done in 2 weeks, and now everybody's like, what else? What else do you have for us? Because we're ready for the next single, versus saying, this record has different layers to it. This could be suitable for this, and it's allowing for the audience to see the potential of what the record is as a lifestyle piece, more so than it is just a piece of music. So that is kind of where I'm at with rollouts, is how can I make this more lifestyle, more relatable, and hopefully I'll be able to accomplish that with, on Friday and, within the weeks to come, to show the lifestyle of the record.
That's beautiful. I know you just talked about the album. So
Yes.
just to boast again, because I know I said it in the intro, I want to touch on it again. I know you've worked with a multitude of literally legends, which includes Jamie Foxx, XWV, Trey Songz, Nicki Minaj. How has working with like that caliber of artistry affected your upcoming album, or maybe your songwriting personally as a recording artist?
You know what? It definitely has affected how I write, because what you understand when you're writing these songs is that eventually somebody's going to sing it back, and you better like what they're saying to you, because the energy that you put out there, it's a reflection, it's a mirror. they're gonna bounce that energy right back. So if it's hateful and toxic, then guess what? You're gonna receive that hateful and toxicness in your life, and you may be wondering, why is my life like this? It's like, because you've written like this. And you know, what is it? The seeds that you sow, the fruit you'll bear. So essentially for me, when I write for other artists, it taught me when I was at their shows, when they're screaming these lyrics, and I'm just like, okay, I can't scream them because I wrote them. So it's just a very surreal moment for me when they're hollering out the lyrics, or if they're not and they don't understand a phrase, or they're just bopping to it, but it doesn't necessarily resonate with them on any level except for the exterior, right? So that it helps you to craft better songs, more relatable songs, things for people to talk about, so that when, you go on radio interviews, or you do, platforms like we're doing right now, like Soul Air, you can actually have something to talk about and break it down to make people say, you know what, I didn't take that from that song, when I listened to it the first time. You know what, I might need to run it back again the way you explained it, right? So that's the beauty of concepts. That's the beauty of conversation pieces within songs. And so that's what I learned from all of the artists, is that they gravitate towards conversation pieces. They gravitate towards things that make them think, that make them feel a certain type of way, more so than it just being like, this record sonically sounds good and it sounds like a smash, but what does it feel like? And in the sense, how does it make me feel? And what do I take away from it? Because now they're held accountable with hundreds of thousands of millions of fans to sing it and perform it.
You're kind of an anomaly, because I would say like the majority of artists only think about the exterior, only think about the 15 seconds that's going to be popping, so I think you're dropping so many gems, and you're kind of like guidance right now for a lot of independent artists. And being that we are a platform that showcases independent artists, what advice do you have for people that are still in the beginning of their journey, or maybe even doubting it right now?
Yeah. My biggest advice that I would have is, number one, believe in yourself. Believe in what God has given you. Don't look to the left. Don't look to your right. Stay focused on what God has given you. But then also too, to the next notch is to have vision. Have a vision. You gotta see past the moment. You gotta see past the song that you're making. You gotta see past the album that you're trying to create. You gotta see past the 15 seconds that you want so bad to be in the light. What's after those 15 seconds, right? How are you actually planning a legacy? How are you actually, how is this affecting you 10, 20, 30 years down the road, right? So we got belief, we have vision, and then also community. No one artist can do it alone. I don't care if you could play every instrument. I don't care how fantastic you are as an artist. You still need a team around you. You still need people that can be honest with you, that can help to support you. As amazing as Prince was, he still had a band. On Purple Rain, it wasn't just Prince, it was Prince and the Revolution. And there's a reason why he had that "and" there, is because he had people that was in his corner to help assist him, to help speed up the process. And I think that's a beautiful thing when you can understand and appreciate those that are around you. Each and every person that's within your circle needs to feed you in some type of way. They may not have to be a part of your team, but even your closest friends need to sow something into you that should either motivate you, encourage you, give you deeper insight, put you on to new stuff, tips, help you to increase your financial stability, help you to get closer to God, whatever it is. Every person in your life needs to have a purpose, because the more purposeless people that you have in your life, guess what? You become purposeless. It's just that simple. So we have belief, vision, network.
Let me get my board. Let me get my board.
I'm sorry. And I
You
know
took us to church today. You took us to therapy. Then you took us to the office to do work. Like, this is so substantive. Truly, truly. Do you have anything else you want to share with us?
Hey, listen, thank you guys so much for having me. I really appreciate it. Make sure that you follow me at Kevin Ross Music. That's Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, what is it, TikTok. I am Kevin Ross. Make sure that you get updates on kevinrossmusic.com. Make sure that you go ahead and stream Looking for Love on Friday. Drive 2 coming out this fall in October. You know, if y'all still listen to radio, make sure that you request Looking for Love at Radio, because we impact July 26th. So, you know, if you still listen and you like it, make sure that you request it. And just thank you for this opportunity. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. The honor is ours. Thank you for being the first artist to kick off Soul to Song at Soul Era, and we hope to have you with us again soon.
Thank you.